1. Good.
Hey everybody, welcome to One Shot Wednesdays. This is Paul coming at you to Storyteller this evening. For those who are familiar with me, I play in our Dune games on Tuesdays, and I was our Thunder Storyteller last season. But I'm back right now for a One Shot Wednesday. We're going to be doing an SCP game, which is probably why most of you are here, because you heard the letters SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect. And we're going to be running it at a modified version of the Kult system. So I'm going to go ahead and have my players introduce themselves, and we're going to dive right into some story points and story beats here in a little bit. For those of you who want to go look up SCPs that might be used in the stories tonight, I'm only using one that has a write-up. The rest of them are all things we made up for the games. We didn't have to get into all those canon versus not canon versus which cactus verse versus what verse versus shattered mirror arguments that we know everybody that's in SCP loves. So if you want to know which one we're using, it'll show up at some point in time, but you will be seeing SCP number 73 for those of you who know what that is off the top of your heads. But I'm going to go ahead and start with Kim and have her introduce herself and who she's playing and where we can find her.
My name is Kimberly. I am playing Dr. Morgan Richardson, and she is a psychologist, new to the site, and also a member of Hangman's Gate RPGs. Can't wait to get this game started.
All right. Next, I believe we have David.
Hello, I am Dave. I am normally the game master for Hangman's Gate, so I'm excited for everybody giving me a chance to play a character for a change. I will be playing Amos Freel, aka D17325. A genuinely nice guy who just happened to have to murder someone someday and is now working for the SCP as a D class because of it.
All right. Next we have Steven.
Hello. I'm Steve. I appear in these games sometimes. This is one of those times. I will be playing Dr. Benjamin Orzel, a researcher for the SCP Foundation, and he's going to be a little bit weird, and I hope to have some fun today.
All right. And last but not least, in front of the camera for a change, we have Ian.
That's really weird. It's strange to be on this side of the DM screen. I'm Ian at Ian V. James on Twitter. I don't need a platform, and I don't use it, but tonight I'll be playing Davis, who's a security guard. And I'm not hopeful for his fate because, well, it's me, so.
All right. For those of you getting in, we look at the central United States and we zoom our satellite feed into South Dakota, into what would be maybe an old manor that looks like it's been converted into what appears to be some sort of bed and breakfast as a cover for the entrance to site number 74. Site 74 houses several very obnoxious SCPs, one of them a brand new delivery from Marshall Carter and Dark that seems to be a cell phone that makes hard light constructs and seems to have the ability to power itself and semi-sentient. We have a fungus that tends to have is currently taking over D classes' brain and absorbing their psyche that our good Dr. Richardson has been looking into very heavily. We have a couple other items in tow. Most of them don't seem to be incredibly important. That may change as the evening goes on, though. SCP number 73 arrived about a week ago and has been memorizing all the files and backing up all the data here. But as we find our individuals who are intrepidly about to become involved in the situation, Davis is escorting our D class toward the office of the good Dr. Richardson so he can get his psychological profile taken care of to see if he might be a candidate for fungal infection. I will start putting our two lovely player characters in the hallway. Are you two conversing amongst yourselves as you walk down to the office? Or is it just a matter of strictly business, you know, our security guard making sure to keep his paces with the D class?
Yeah, well, Davis is quite nosy and doesn't really know anything about where he is and why he's stationed here. It's quite obvious that people relished in the day that they fired him, and removed him from his pension, left on this desk duty. A bit overqualified for it, but he won't stop talking at any point unless you ask him to. Carrying a coffee as he moseys down the hall.
Amos will be trying to make, small talk, and if Davis is talking with him, then definitely going to try to use that to his advantage to get some personal information, see if he can work this to his favor in some way.
Huh. All right, well, you'll learn Davis has absolutely no useful information. His vacation in Hawaii is something you're well versed in now if you actually did fight at all, but besides that, he'll be asking you far more than you him about things related to the SCP.
At this point, I don't know anything either, so...
You'll find that Amos knows a lot about the bathrooms and the cleaning facilities and what he's cleaned up here at the site. Most of the time, it's pretty reasonable, but you find out that there are lots and lots of procedures for antifungal infections at this particular site. They want to make sure this place does not have any place where mold or fungus are going to grow in any incredibly powerful manner. It tends to be, even your security layouts are like, use bleach wipes regularly, like... It's like a COVID procedure, but slightly worse when it comes to sanitation.
Wow.
In the Eastern Wing, they want to make sure that whatever's going on and experiments are happening there, that they're keeping those very secure in the part of the secure, contain, protect part. They clearly want to contain whatever's happening there. But as you haven't really been given much security clearance into that particular situation, you'll find that you don't really know there because you haven't been assigned to that quadrant yet. As you two arrive at the door to Dr. Richardson, we're going to pan back out to our other good doctor, Dr. Benjamin, and he has just finished dealing with one of the hard-to-fight constructs and has come to the realization that whatever the phone is, whatever this creature is, clearly probably needs a more clear eye from a psychological standpoint. You have a lot of physical aspects, you have a lot of physical aspects, but at this point in time, you know you're dealing with something that is sentient, and that a psychological makeup is probably what you need to get. So you might want to find your way heading to Dr. Richardson's office, but what do you do before you head out there? What precautions do you take when you shut down things around the Faraday cage that contains this phone that someone made the mistake of taking out of the box from Marshall Carter and Dark?
Well, Orzel, he's a little twitchy, so he, double, triple make sure everything is turned on. That should be turned on, turned off. That should be turned off. Making sure the safeguards for the safeguards are working for the safeguards. He's making sure that the magnetic fields are flowing, that nothing's going in, nothing's coming out. Probably doing a little work with a dryer sheet, because chances are his hair is like out here with the static charge of what he's working with.
Sure.
He's just, all right, okay, that's good. Key card. It'll head on over.
So you head down the hallways, everything's going fine. You get to the T-junction of Dr. Richardson's office, and you see that there's someone in a security uniform and someone in that orange D-class jumpsuit, and the security guard is knocking right on the doctor's door. And that brings us to the doctor. What is Dr. Richardson doing shortly before they knock on her door for the psychological evaluation of this D-class?
Does she know he's on his way there?
Yes, she is well aware. He's scheduled for this psychological interview. So you kind of have his criminal jacket in front of you, probably. You have, the fact that he's been mostly kept on cleaning duties and hasn't really been engaged in many experiments inside this site yet. And that he is in pretty good mental health. He is a convicted killer. So that might be something to discuss with him here in a minute. And that's how we ended up here in the SCP information.
Okay, so that's what she's doing, is going over his files, kind of getting a little bit more information on him, and just getting prepared to actually see him and speak with him.
Okay. Well, you will hear a rap of knuckles on your door. It sounds like it's probably an old policeman, somebody who did some time being trained as a police officer, rapping at the door. So probably not the D-class themselves, but the security officer that's there to escort them. Because we don't leave our psychologists in rooms with D-class alone. That's a little dangerous.
Okay. Do they have access to be able to come on into the room, or do I need to get up and let them in?
Davis would have the ability to swipe his key card in as a security officer.
Come in, I'll say.
All right. And as it opens, I like to think I'm still talking Amos's ear off, but I want to know if there's some way that I can try to know that he's a convicted killer. 'Cause that's pertinent.
All right. I'm going to intercede there and think that that might be a good time to see how good or bad of a liar I am.
Go ahead and roll that advantage footage, as we are using for all our people watching the stream. We are using modification of the cult systems and the cult system, and we're making sure that all these rolls are going to be happening live in front of you, so that you we did not really do any of the pre-game start of game rolls. We're going to do all the rolls live on stream, so we can see how good or bad it turns out for our players, and how quickly they can improv solutions to good rolls versus bad. But go ahead, David, give me a roll on that level setup there.
All right. That is a 9. That gives you 3 holds on me. So.
Not in tune with your lying. All of Davis's talking about his Hawaii trip has completely thrown you off. You're like, Hawaii? I never got to go to Hawaii. This is bullshit. Oh man. Like, you're too focused on the fact that he apparently had a nice outside life to come up with a good, clean lie about the situation. So, Ian, you're looking for Davis to know that this guy's a convicted killer. Did you look over what advantages do you have for that particular? Do you have an advantage that's going to apply in that situation, or are you just trying to make a roll based on cult moves to see if you can direct the conversation to why he ended up in the employ, for lack of a better term, of the SCP Foundation?
Yeah, I have absolutely no advantages that would apply here. So I don't know. First cult moves. I mean, read a person is a roll plus intuition.
Yeah, read a person would work in this conversation.
All right.
It's not going to let you know he's a murderer, but it will let you know that he might have that his criminal past may or may not have been violent. So it's not going to give you a full read on him.
Right. Roll over. Terribly.
No.
Terribly. Yeah, so I'm talking about.
This guy's
I'm basically
great.
going off about
like
my coffee.
Great. Wrong place, wrong time type situation. You could believe this guy. You could believe this guy got here just because maybe he just did in the wrong place at the wrong time and had a bad judge. His stories are pretty believable if he's kind of directing the conversation away from why he got here and what bad stuff he may have done. It's pretty believable that he's just a nice guy in general, and just wrong place, wrong time. He regrets any action he took in the heat of the moment to defend himself. And, you, as a former law enforcement officer, would have had a hard time not speaking well of him at his trial and trying to get him a more lenient sentence.
Right. Yeah,
so,
that's true. And once I know that, I'll just continue to talk about how irritated I am that I have to keep a lid on my coffee. They say it's fungal. But theoretically, you should have it taken care of, yes? Door's open, though.
I wish I had a coffee.
The door opens up, he scans them through. Dr. Benjamin, you see these two men enter, and I'll leave you two to role play with the doctor here in a moment.
Okay, so Dr. Benjamin's come in as well, right?
No. Dr. Benjamin's down the hallway. He watched them go in.
Okay.
So it's almost in Davis, the security guard, have just entered your office. They seem to be yapping it up. They seem to be pretty good. They seem to be pretty friendly, like with each other, which is not out of the ordinary, but it's a little strange for a D-class and a security officer to friendly it up. But hey, maybe they're just two nice guys.
I hate to interrupt your wonderful discussion you seem to be having, you two.
Oh, hello, Doctor.
Hello, Mr. Freel and Mr. Mason. Mr. Freel, would you like to have a seat, please?
Ooh. Yes, that looks nice. Much better than the concrete floors that I'm used to. I sit down on the chair.
Mr. Freel, I was looking over some of your recent files and show that the reason you're in here is because you apparently committed a murder. Is that correct?
His expression changes when you say that. It's not all
I mean,
smiles now. No, but
I'm just trying. I'm going to use my intuitive, which is intuition, to see if I can get a reading of his motives and everything.
Good call.
Second. I did not roll those dice, by the way. This one. Give me get down there. Well, if I can get the plus to come up here. Okay. Did it roll?
Oh, there it looks like it's going. Bada boom. Yeah. That's an 18. You are on him. You are reading him like a book right now. It is very much one of those cases where all your training and all things, and you said his expression changes. What does it change from smiles and happy conversation with Davis to
kind of flat-faced, and he's like, the only thing he says is, that was self-defense.
Okay. Do you feel any remorse for what you've done? Just trying to get a better aspect of what we're looking at here. If being here has helped you in any way, or, just kind of get a feel of what you're going through right now.
Because it's so obvious, I will go ahead and say he's lying. But he looks at you and says, yes, I wish that it hadn't worked out the way that it did, and I feel sorry for him. But they fired first.
Well, so you're saying that, because I'm just going by what your file states. Now, were they able to prove that it was self-defense?
No, they did everything in their power to prove that it wasn't. Even said that I would fire on him.
Oh. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to use my forked tongue at this point. And that is charisma. So I'm going to roll that to see if I can get anything else out of him or make some kind of connection here.
Sure.
That didn't work too well.
It's still a 12, so it is with him knowing some facts. So you, having been in your own courtroom trial there, Amos, almost know that there's a situation here. She's definitely smooth talking her way into trying to get more information out of you. You can let slip certain things that will help steer the conversation the way you might want it to go. She's very clearly like one of those court-appointed psychiatrists that tried to tell you that you did this whole thing in cold blood.
I think it had something to do with this place. The item I was trying to get for my employer had the logo sitting on the wall there behind you. So maybe it was some personal vendetta. I'm not a cold-blooded killer.
And as he's saying this, you all three inside the room feel what appears to be a little bit of a tremor. And because it's the office of therapists, there's not much noise. But Dr. Benjamin in the hallway can hear a loud pop There's that very loud, like, crashing pop as the building vibrates a little bit. The lights go from the normal lighting situation that you would normally see in 7 the very clean white fluorescent lights, and they suddenly switch red, and then all of a sudden there's like a howling of a klaxon, that horn. Things go from well lit and lovely to this isn't good. Davis, as a security personnel, recognizes this as some sort of breach of security. Our lovely D-Class has no idea. He's never been in a facility that's been breached before. And our two good doctors understand what's happening, but might not have the same crisis response that our security personnel would have.
Okay.
You can hear lots of whirring and movement. Davis's radio suddenly squawks to life and informs him that, there's a response team heading to the northern side of the building, which infers that it's probably an external breach heading in and not something internally getting out, which has its own list of possible ramifications. You will hear a quick burst of gunfire over your radio, Davis, and then it'll go flat. The whole radio system seems to go flat all at once. It's very much a situation of you feel like something may have happened and someone may be jamming communications inside the facility. The flickering of the red lights continues, but the loud klaxon blaring horn suddenly cuts off. What does everyone do?
Davis, what is going on?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Is that a breach?
What is a breach?
I'll say this is when Orzel. Yeah, this is when Orzel slips into the room.
Okay.
So you guys see the doors open, and researcher just kind of slips in and around the door. Hi, how's everyone doing? We may need to de-ask the area very, very soon. How are you doing, Dr. Richardson? You two, I'm not sure I know, but hi, how are you?
Good.
Do you let the door close behind you, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. You step into the office and realize it is much quieter in here because this is a psychiatrist's office. It is completely soundproofed. So you realize that the noise you would have heard going on in the hallway is now cut off. So you guys are in what appears
to be soundproof
secure. You get what you would normally expect to be static. You don't get that. You get the dead air of what you know to be a jam on the radio frequency. You can start trying to swap frequencies or change the backup lines.
Shit. Right. I'm going to try that immediately.
Okay. You go through the first two, and you don't get anything except for the same jamming frequency. You get to the third one, and you hear basically the command. You hear the command the sergeant at arms style position inform you that there are armed individuals in the north, coming in through the north section. They appear to be chaos, and then you hear more gunfire. And it goes dead. And by dead, I mean it doesn't have the same jamming frequency. He just stops talking. You can hear the rustle of boots. And then after a few moments, you hear someone else pick up the radio, saying, giving off the same frequency you were on, as its call numbers, like frequency 569, and then that goes dead again with the same jamming situation.
Damn it.
Anybody
Doesn't
got
sound
any
good,
ideas on
Davis.
how to get out of here?
They're locking us out.
Well,
I mean, I know Davis knows the floor plan.
I do know we probably don't want to be here.
Right. This
is
very careful observation, Amos.
I mean,
Okay, Mr. Freel, you know this place better than probably any of us do. Do you have a way that from my office, a way we can get out maybe that will bypass some of this, that we may be safer?
Yeah. Amos knows that there's lots of like extra, service ducts and service areas that he's had to clean in the past. He knows that he can't get into them because he doesn't have security clearance, but he's always been escorted by a security officer when that's happened. He doesn't necessarily have them all mapped out, but he does know ways to bypass bits and pieces. He also knows that the northern end of the complex is storage. So whatever they're going for, they're headed for something in storage, not necessarily a live SCP that's happening right now. They're not necessarily going after all the horror stories of other things you've heard about. But yeah, so you guys are in the soundproofed therapist office at this point in time still.
Okay,
No
so go ahead.
I know a place that they make me clean. Davis, if you come with me, you can get in there. It should be able to get us out of here, get away from the gunfire.
All right. Oh, damn it.
I'll
Davis's
explain to
hand
you.
is shaking.
Following the guy with the gun.
Yes.
So as Davis opens the door, he can tell that the hallways here have gone. Go ahead.
There's one thing I wanted to do before we left. That's why I was kind of pushing everyone to go ahead and tell them where it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to look at Dr. Richardson's desk and see if I could find letter openers, scissors, random sharp objects of any kind.
She would keep those locked up.
Oh, apparently she keeps them locked up, straight up. She is handling
never know.
prisoners at an SCP facility. The best you can probably get is a pen. A pen's still a weapon you didn't have.
Yeah. So
She
observe
would
the
make
situation.
sure any sharp objects would be put up.
Yeah, you can get a pen. Pen's still a pen. Yeah, you can find a pen there. You can pocket real quick. Nothing super sharp, but it's better than what you had before you walked into the office.
All right, let's go.
Okay, I need to size up who is my number 2 if I die. Who's the most who's the second most proficient with a weapon at a glance. Oh no, not the convicted. Wait, no, he's innocent.
Yeah.
All right, you listen to me.
Yes,
He's
far
still
do know.
convicted, but you believe him to be innocent. Yes, that is correct. But
Yes.
when you size up everybody here, he is much more clearly able to do violence than the 2 researchers that you're with, the psychiatrist and the researcher you're with. As
That's
you head
true.
into the
That one I
hallway,
did get right.
you realize that the facility has gone from basic containment problem to a full lockdown, meaning that the hallways every few hundred yards are sealed because they're sealed to prevent the SCPs from getting out. If you want to start moving through the hallways, you'll need appropriate clearance. You have half of that clearance as security personnel, but you also have another level 2 security clearance individual with the doctor who will have access to certain labs, and then you have access to most of the facility with your level 3 security personnel and the site therapist. So it'll be a case of you guys having to work together to open these doors and, overriding these things with a mixture of security clearance and, site level personnel. As the doctor's office was on a T-junction, you basically have one of 3 directions you could head. Mr. Freel could direct you towards the area he knows to clean, which will take you toward the east wing of the facility. That's the area he's had to clean the most. You know that storage is in the north and that these individuals are in the north. They weren't headed toward the east wing when this particular thing happened.
Right. I want to stop Amos at some point. All right, Amos.
Sure.
Listen to me. Davis looks like a 115-pound chain smoker with greasy black hair parted down the middle. These weird hazel eyes that seem to pierce your soul in a half uncomfortable way. This weapon, I've made the choice to trust you. You see, you know how to use it, right?
What is it? Out of game, what
A
is it?
pistol. That's what I can give you. At a game, it is a pistol.
Yes. Yeah, I'll make sure we stay safe. Thanks for trusting me, Davis. I appreciate it.
Right. Just don't hesitate to pick it up if this goes south.
Don't worry, I won't.
If you want to give me a quick willpower roll there, Ian.
Woof. All right. Are we trying to keep it together?
Not yet. I'm going to use it as a memory check. Because
15.
13. So you're pretty sure on the way to the east wing. +2, so 15 total? With complete success. Right. So you know that on the way to the east wing, that if you can get to it, there is a security depot where you can get better weapons, maybe some armor for people in a situation like this. It's not exactly on the way of where Amos would be taking you, but it will definitely be a slight detour to get better weapons, like possibly some SMGs and some better body armor to protect everybody better. As well as, you know, things like, if things go wrong, like a med kit and things like that. So you're kind of left with the T-junction, and I guess we're at Mr. Freel. I assume Mr. Freel takes them in the appropriate direction towards where these service ducks are going to be. He doesn't immediately try to do anything crazy and take them the wrong way. No. All right. So you get to the first set of like locked doors. Everybody can, you know, handle it. The doctor and our security guard walk up to the security panel, slide both their credentials across, type in their passcodes, and the door will open for them. It'll, you know, declare, level 3 security clearance, security override, and the door's open. There is, as you head through the door, the recycled air that you knew that you were breathing, because it was that stale recycled air feeling, lifts a little bit. It's no longer the same recycled air situation. You can smell a little bit of something on the air, but you're not exactly sure what.
Right. We need gas masks. There to be spores.
Spores. Right. Yes. You don't think they're here for the cell phone, do you?
A cell phone?
Yes. Kind of an upcoming SCP from good old Marshall Cutter and Dark Limited. It's a funny little device. Like a little Android phone. Doesn't look like much, but it's kind of alive, or at least sentient, and it can make it like holograms, but solid. We refer to it as hard light, and this can technically produce like infinite energy, which it kind of uses to charge itself, and in the wrong hands, that could be very, very good. I mean, it has to be like, it has to make things that exist, but I mean, maybe it can make it an atomic reactor. I'm not sure. Just putting it out there into the ether.
Right.
Someone tell me he's joking.
Where is this?
Oh, well, it's just...
I'm still trying to figure out how... Okay, so you said that there's something that's controlling this phone? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not really. It controls itself. That's kind of the anomalous part. It acts on its own accord. We're not really sure to what extent that is. That's kind of why we're trying to study it. Get that pinned down before we give it a number. But it's kind of really contained. But if someone were to take that, especially, something like, chaos insurgency, that could be very, very bad.
So, the mention of the chaos insurgency, Davis, you remember briefing problem and antagonistic organizations. The chaos insurgency, as you read in your security profile, are a group of basically paramilitary, paranormal extremists. They want the things the SCP facility takes, they tend to steal from sites and then reintroduce them into the world in ways that can be very harmful. This pings with what the sergeant had said about the fact that they could be chaos before he was cut off. So the idea right now in the speculation is that possibly the individuals who have breached this site may be members of the Chaos Insurgency. Which does make sense why they'd be heading towards storage, because that's where you would find things that have been contained to the point where they're easier to steal. Whereas in the West Wing, where our good Dr. Benjamin works, and is actively not get this item hasn't actively been given an SCP number yet, you might want to make sure they don't find out about that if they don't already know, because a hard light construction, semi-sentient piece of technology that is self-energizing in the hands of the Chaos Insurgency is a really, really bad idea.
Okay, how far are we from where this type of machinery would be at to where they are? I mean, are we close to that, or if that was possibly something they may be looking for? Would we get there first?
Based upon where they've entered, it seems they are probably unaware of this. If they've been planning to breach this facility for a while, the cell phone only arrived about a week or so ago, shortly before SCP-73 showed up to start taking inventory. So this hasn't even been assigned a number yet, and because it hasn't been assigned a number yet, they might not be in the system for whatever agents the Chaos Insurgency to find out about it. But if they were to start to head from storage into the actual labs in the in the West Wing, because the cell phone's in the West Wing and the fungus is in the East Wing, then they'd be doing all right. You all are heading toward the East Wing, which might have its own issues and problems because the staleness of the air isn't great. You do immediately reach the depot in the West Wing, or in the East Wing. Sorry, you reach the depot in the East Wing as we're heading to, and Davis opens it up, allowing you guys to get gas masks, so you can add that to the equipment on your sheet. As well as he can unlock other weapons for people, such as combat knives, SMG, or other pistols if he actually wants to arm other people involved in this situation.
All right. Well, if they're looking to kill us as well, we might as well shoot first, yes? Take what you can use comfortably.
I've never really used a gun, but it shouldn't be too hard, right? You just pull the trigger and aim, right?
You're terrifying me.
Well, I don't know how to defend myself.
This might be more your speed. Rather, they'll just use it against you. I'm gonna hand like a folding baton from within the depot. Just sort of this like, yep.
You have
should
a
telescope out.
Doctor. You have a club.
Okay, who are you handing
When you
that
push
to?
the button on it, it juts out, and it kind of
Dr.
startles you
Richardson.
because it's very. Dr. Richardson, like when you push the button on the folding baton, it jets out, kind of startling you with that like moment. But it's a sturdy metal beating stick. Like that is what it is for.
She's gonna sit there and just practice swinging it.
Yeah.
I'm ready then.
I assume everybody puts on a gas mask.
Yeah.
They do seal. They are very much the full facial mask. They do have little internal radios, and because you're in such close proximity to each other, you could set a particular frequency that's not jammed, so you guys can still talk amongst yourselves with the masks on.
Okay.
So you have successfully avoided possible fungal infection inside of the facility at this point in time.
Yay.
That's assuming we can get a nice seal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put it down that our good Dr. Benjamin probably checks your seal and then double checks your seal and then double checks his seal.
Yeah.
Because
Hold on. Is the filter on this up to date, you think?
But yeah, you guys can take the time to check your seals. It's probably taken you 7 to 8, maybe 10 minutes to get where you need to go in here. You get into the depot, you take your time. What weapons does Benjamin hand out? Or not, Davis, I'm sorry. What weapons does Davis hand out to Benjamin and possibly your D class as well? Our good doctor Richardson has a folding baton. You have a pistol. Do you equip yourself with an SMG as well?
That's a fine idea. Dr. Orzel, well, what do you feel comfortable with?
Well, probably nothing with a trigger. My shooting hand's a little shaky.
Are you okay there, Doctor?
I think he gets the baton too.
I have a weapon for you.
Never drink coffee from the multi-dimensional vending machine. I'll just say that right now.
I'll produce any fitting hard shell body armor. Anything I can find that would fit Dr. Orzel, I will provide as the weapon I was referring to. You best stay behind the triggers then, Doctor.
I can work with that.
I mean, you can get him like some carapace armor. You could even give him a riot shield if you wanted, so he could just stand out there and hopefully get shot at and not get more than murdered. Because there is some anti-riot gear in the depot. There's 2 little riot shields.
Can we say Dr. Orzel was looking at the riot shield?
Sure.
Yeah.
No. You're kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I'm shaken, I mean, the thing's still there.
You'll find it doesn't do any of your strange tricks.
I am absolutely okay with that, so long as my heart keeps pumping and my thinker keeps thinkering. I think I did that out of order. Anyway, yeah, this will work just fine.
And then I'll give Amos a sort of side glare to try to see what he's leaning to. What'll it be then?
Amos is comfortable with a pistol. I mean, that's his weapon of choice.
That's what they said in the documents.
So he's fine with what he has. It's comfortable to him. He's familiar with it. So.
All right. All right.
And I'm going to make this declaration to Amos as well. If you can help get us safe, I will not question whether you were, prosecuted, correctly or not. We'll leave it be, and I won't question it. Just as long as we know we can trust you in this situation, because you're the only one that has experience with this, and that's what I'm going to go on, unless I find out otherwise. But I'm going to trust you to help us get through this, okay?
Doctor, I appreciate your trust. Just keep your head down and we'll get out of this. Right, Davis?
Yes. That's correct.
All right.
Did I leave my coffee?
We'll get out of
You
this.
left the coffee.
It seems I did. No matter. Masks on.
So you have that heavy breathing experience now that you have a filtration system on. The air goes back to having that same stale, recycled taste that now is much more comforting that you understand that it might be keeping you much safer heading into this area. As you're seeing things, the lights here flicker a little bit and go out and then come back on after about 2 to 3 seconds. And you don't hear anything too extreme, but you get up to another set of doors, and as you look at the doors, they're the next ones you need to get through to head to this this hidey hole in the service tunnels. And you go to put your codes in, and the panel in front of you informs you that there is a hostile biological agent on the other side, and your access is denied for opening these particular doors.
So none of our badges will work?
It informed
Honestly,
correct.
Honestly, I think that might be for the best.
Hostile biological. What does that even mean?
going beyond this door means bad things for your meat suit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll trust you.
All right.
Probably the smartest move you'll make all day. Okay. So is there any way to get around this particular roadblock?
There is. You as a researcher and the therapist who both know this facility fairly well when it comes to the usual normal traveled paths, know that you can double back part of the way you came and head through a corridor on the northern side of the complex, but that will possibly put you much more directly into the area of conflict with a possible chaos insurgency.
All right, so Benjamin, which way should we go? If we go back the other way, we could possibly get in the middle of this, and if we go forward...
Going forward would require
the
you
way
to
I see it,
pry open the doors or hack the security clearance at this point in time.
The way I see it, if we go forward, we are definitely running into something that probably wants us dead or assimilated or some horrible combination of the two. If we go the other way, we might meet something that wants to make us into Swiss cheese, but might is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, so I think that might be the better call.
I kind of have more of a fear of bullets.
Well, after what we know that's in here, that can be a little tricky as well. We'll have to leave that. What does everybody want to do?
I say we double back.
I say double back.
Well, it looks like my vote doesn't count anyway, so...
Well, I guess we double back. Let's let the two with the guns go in front, and we'll just watch the back.
Okay.
So we're kind of like
you keep
2x2ing.
Yep.
Sounds like it. Mm-hmm.
Keep that shield up.
2x2. Mm-hmm. So you guys head around and you 2x2, and you head around the way you go back. It takes you about the same amount of time to head back to where you were. You start heading up through the northern access area. The doors begin to open. There aren't any more hazardous biological material, overrides are not in effect here. As you come around a corner, you hear gunfire. You hear the short burst of a weapon followed by a "don't do," never mind. And then there's the sound of walking again.
I'm gonna put my hand back to whoever's behind me to stop and try to find some sort of cover, whichever side I'm on, and look in the direction of the gunfire.
Turn out, Doctor.
So if you peek around the corner of the gunfire, you see a man. He is dressed in loose-fitting pants, a loose-fitting shirt, but when you look at his hands, they seem to be metal. You see what is very clearly two guys in tactical gear, dead from gunshot wounds to the head. They just look like they took some bullets to the brain and are laying there on the floor. As the man turns and looks at you in his face, he appears to be of Arabic descent. He has a well-maintained beard and a sigil on his forehead. And he just kind of lets out a sigh and looks around, seeing if there's anybody around to engage or interact with.
Do we recognize who this might be?
Davis recognizes from the photo that it is SCP number 73. The good doctor also recognizes from the dossier that it's SCP number 73. You, Benjamin, have not seen a picture of the gentleman, but he definitely does look anomalous when you see him and our favorite D class is it's a guy with metal hands. This is weird. I don't understand. It's very much They did not inform the D class that SCP number 73 was going to be here during the week.
Okay, so I'm going to relay the information as quietly as possible to Amos and Benjamin. You don't know either, right?
Not my specialty.
When Amos tells you what the guy looks like, you definitely are like, that's SCP number 73. Like, you quickly realize that, Doctor.
Okay, gotcha.
She's going to be like, from what I know, we can't hurt him, or it comes back to you. Whatever you do to him, it affects you.
As I recall, he's usually docile.
Yes, he is. Yes.
He doesn't look very damn docile now.
Well,
Don't fire,
if
Amos.
you shoot at him, he's gonna respond. It's gonna be comes back to you, whatever you do to him.
Yeah, basically, he's
Karma,
he's
right,
rubber, you're glue.
Wait, you mean immediately come back?
Yeah. I mean, he's still hurt. He still like experiences the synaptic pain response. But if you were to shoot him in the leg, you'd be the one bleeding on the floor.
Yeah.
So he's coming this way. So we better either go back where we came from, or somebody deal with that, because I don't have a solution for that.
Maybe we should just.
I actually think Dr. Morgan might be the best call for dealing with this. He is usually at least somewhat amicable. Let's see if he's willing to play nice.
We can try talking to him. See what we can do for him.
Yes.
And hopefully keep him docile, make him peaceful and calm.
Yeah, exactly. Calm. Very calm, yes.
I'll be right behind you.
Right.
I'm still a little nervous,
This is
though,
kinda-
but
Yeah, Davis is frozen. Just no idea what to do here. There's no.
Go ahead and give me a keeping it together roll if he's having that fight or flight response.
Oh, yes. Of course.
That is a mechanic in this game for that exact
Plus.
function.
There sure is. +1. So 10.
10. Ooh, so succeeded at cost, if I remember. We can go look at keeping it together exactly what that one is, because I don't. It sounds like you became scared, by the way, in this particular situation. Correct?
That's fitting because Davis is scared. Yes. Highly.
This doesn't seem like one where you became obsessed with him, so we're gonna go with
No.
Davis is legitimately scared of Kane, SCP-73, because he understands the totality of what happened when those clearly professional murderers showed up to kill this man. They cleanly went for headshots and then popped themselves in the dome because of it. And that's an incredibly terrifying idea. And we've added a picture of
Yeah.
SCP right here, which is marvelous. So Dr. Morgan comes around the corner, clearly not wielding a baton, I would think.
no. I don't want to do anything to, scare or try to intimidate him in any way.
And you're still in your SCP, gear and lab coat and everything, so you are wearing SCP symbolism on your person, so he can readily identify you by looking at you. He lets out kind of a sigh of contentment and a little bit of relief, and he just goes, "Do you know what's going on? And do you know where we should go?" It's very much like that, "I would like to not keep getting shot at" response from someone who's experienced it hundreds of thousands of times. It's like that beleaguered, not again.
I am so sorry. I don't know what's going on. We were in my office, heard gunfire. I do not know, but you're more than welcome to come with us. We're trying to get our way out from the gunfire as well. And
what's your name? I didn't catch it.
Dr. Morgan Richardson.
Oh, you're the psych therapist. I'm supposed to be meeting with you in a
Yes.
few days, actually. We might have to postpone that.
Well, let's hope that we get through this, that we have a chance to get to speak later.
Of course. I mean, I'm not going to say this in any sort of malice. I'm not incredibly worried that I will survive the encounter here. Whole thing.
I'm well
but
aware.
yes, you surviving is probably good for everything that is going on.
Yes, I am well aware of your skills. Just if you can, stay with us and we'll all try to get to safety and make sure that no one else is injured. Hopefully.
As best we can. These individuals seem to be shooting very quickly and first before they're asking questions.
What type of questions are they asking?
No, I believe the phrase is shoot first, ask questions later, isn't it? I was making
Yes.
So they haven't reached the asking questions bit.
They didn't ask questions. They just shot first. Yeah, that's correct colloquialism still, right?
Yes.
We may have lost the good.
So we're actually trying to find a safe spot. Amos, do you and Mason know where else we can go at this point?
Having heard my name, I'll step back out around from the cover.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there are several of you. That's good. So there were more of them about 2 corridors. They breached the doors. They saw me and attacked, and then clearly things happened, and then I left because I'm not going to stand there and get shot at. That seems like a really bad idea, even for me. And those 2 pursued me, and I assumed they assumed I shot their friends, and that's where we're at now. So you have 2 bodies, both of them with what appear to be GSW wounds to the head, like almost center of the forehead type situation. It looks like that's where they tried to shoot SCP-73, and clear immediate retaliatory action happened, which led to the deaths of these 2 individuals. What would you like to do with 2 bodies that are clearly laid out there?
Can we investigate to see what type of, like if they got any symbols or what type of, to find out what organization or what exactly they're there for, any kind of clues to what they may have been looking for?
That seems like a great idea. You want to roll for investigating that then?
Yes. Let's see. What have I got? Okay, +1. All right, let's see. Not the best.
Was that a 9?
Yes.
Well, that is not good. Oh, that is exposing yourself to some sort of danger.
Oh no.
So, Dr. Morgan heads over to look at one of the bodies and goes to move it, and go ahead and give me an avoid harm roll.
Let's see here. Trying to find where my avoid harm is. Okay, reflexes. +1. Okay, I might have a little bit of advantage here. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and denote a gore warning coming up right now. For those of you on stream, I'm about to be kind of descriptive. So the good doctor heads over to one of them to examine the first bodies, and it turns out whatever group this particular group of people is with apparently booby traps their dead. The doctor goes to roll and handle the situation, and Davis, before he can react, hears kind of a click. At which point in time, the chest of the individual and upper body, the body that the doctor moves, goes from being a chest to effectively a landmine of bone that has been converted into an anti-personnel style device. Like, clearly something was implanted in these individuals. And the doctor is blown, Dr. Morgan is blown backwards, kind of running into Dr. Benjamin, who's got his shield up and raised, like, I don't want anything bad happening to me. And there is, not only is the doctor covered in, you know, internal organs and blood, but there's also bone sticking out, so like parts of her arm. Her face mask has been cracked and shattered, and if she hadn't been wearing the gas mask, it probably would have hurt even more and possibly even, you know, cost her an eye. And it is very jarring and very unexpected, and you can, you know, take a point on the damage track there. And you can roleplay appropriately as the awfulness just happened.
Oh no. Okay, hold on. Let's take a look at you. Let's take a look. So, good Dr. Ben does have the advantage battlefield medic.
Well, there you go.
Yay!
Okay. So, roll reason for stabilizing wounds. Which,
As a side note, if Dr. Morgan can give me a keeping it together roll as well from this experience.
So
okay, +2.
Where's the thing? Oh, that's not good.
That's a 16.
Yep. Well, you managed not to scream and yelp in pain because you know that would be a danger to the rest of the group, and managed to settle your brain in the intense pain that's going on as you look down and see, like, the piece of this guy's rib sticking out of your arm, like, as it's impaled there. And you're like, I am not going to scream and yell. I am not going to put us in danger. And you, like, do that thing where you bite down on your tongue and breathe real heavy inside your mask, and it kind of permeates through everybody else's ears because you're all connected over the beads. And it's very intense. And I see that Benjamin
probably
did
gonna
not
say
roll well.
a few choice words in the process.
Sadly, no.
So, in Benjamin trying to wipe away what he thought was just gore, bumps into that part of your arm. And that's definitely going to keep together roll the full effect, because it is incredibly painful, and you grit your teeth and roleplay amongst yourselves for a few moments.
Sorry. Sorry. There's a lot here to deal with. I'm very, 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 very sorry.
That's my bad. I shouldn't have checked.
Are you all right?
Do I look all right?
Well,
it
are
could
you
be
all
worse.
right considering?
Yes. That's gonna hurt later.
Well, that's gonna scar later.
Yeah,
That's
it really will.
Hurt. That's gonna scar later.
At least I have a battle wound. At least say I tried.
Yes, I mean, thankfully the SCP Foundation has an amazing medical plan.
Oh, yeah. So did I get the bone? Did we get the bone out of my arm?
Not really. He just kind of wiped at it. He needs to get back at it, trying to actually. He managed to get all the other gore away. He can look at all. He will note very quickly that whatever happened here, because he's a battlefield medic, this individual and probably several other of them, now that you know what you're looking at, might be booby trapped themselves. Meaning that there's like pieces of bone shrapnel kind of all throughout your arm. Just the big red one is the one sticking out that he bumped into. It's going to take him a little bit of time to start patching you up. And in all the panic, no one mentioned grabbing a med kit from the weapon depot over on the eastern side of the building. So he's doing this very makeshift. Like, he's ripping up parts of his lab coat and pulling it out, and he's using, like, the tweezers and other, like little tools he carries on him. Yes?
In my defense, I thought we were all going to die anyway.
That is actually entirely
Trying to
fair.
be optimistic, not pessimistic here.
Yeah, so I can't really do anything else without an actual med kit. Super sure. Thought of that.
So,
But he can take care of all the littler parts and, like, clean it up some and wrap it up. And it's not gauze, but it's clean-ish. It's cleaner than it would have been. But there's that rib kind of jutting out of the side of your, like right in that area right here in your arm. It's hindering the use of your hand a little bit. You're still functional. You're still good. Luckily, it was whatever hand you're not dominant with. So if you're right-handed, it's your left hand. If you're left-handed, it's your right hand. So
it was my left.
Yep. So you can still wield your baton. You can still, write a prescription, do what you need to do. But it is very much like, probably, unless your characters had, probably not, given the way you explained her, this is probably one of the most excruciating things that she's ever had happen to her. There is another body you can check out and try to investigate as well.
No, I ain't. Somebody else can, but I'm not.
I mean, like, yeah, that's probably not a great idea. I mean, King probably could, but that would be... You've already been shot in the head. I think you're good.
So is anyone going to try to investigate the other body?
Can we investigate it without touching it to see if we just see anything
Like a visual?
readily visible? Yeah.
So you can investigate it and just make the investigation roll. The problem is when you roll under the 9, something has to be in danger, so that was the first thing that came to mind. So if you successfully investigate, you're clearly going to not trip the booby trap.
Yeah, not get your head blew off.
I would gladly go help and investigate and see if we can figure anything, except for the small fact that I have no clue what the hell I'm looking at if I see anything. So, Doctor, it looks like it's going to have to be you.
You can crawl up there and explain what you see if you want, and they can relay the information if you want. That's totally fine. You can play the D-class guinea pig that you signed on to be when you signed to pay. I would totally let that balance, and I'd totally be like, I see a red wire and a blue wire. That's totally fine. We can roleplay that out completely.
All right. I'll go ahead and do it then. Investigate.
All right. Sounds good.
Fingers crossed. Ooh.
Yeah, that looks like you investigate out of that body. So you get there,
What do I see?
Watch the doctor be foolhardy in her approach, and I'll just start looking around, nothing bad can happen. You, get low to the ground, scurry over there, look the body over, you're like, oh, that's the pressure thing. You're like, pull that wire, no explosion, all right, cool. And you're like, I got a radio here, guys, that seems to be on-ish, so we can kind of hear what's going on with them. I've got, ammunition. Do you let them know there's another weapon, or do you pocket an additional weapon while you're over here?
What is the weapon? I mean,
They have a sidearm and what appears to be a if you're incredibly familiar with firearms, they have repurposed a AK-47 into a more compact one you would use for room clearing. So it's using the 7.62 millimeter round for man-stopping power, and they have it with the twin mags and additional magazines on their chest. It is clearly in well-conditioned, laser-sighted up, the whole 9 yards. You're not going to be able to hide it on you, but if you're just flashing it because now I have a bigger gun, totally a thing you can do. But you note the fact that this is somebody who is, these are nice weapons. They're clearly designed to be used in these types of scenarios. These are clearly people who are here to clear rooms and kill people. They are not here to take hostages or make friends. It just seems that you guys were lucky that SCP-73 happened to be here the same week they attacked, and they don't have a profile on this guy. Because it's not like he runs around on, eHarmony.
So I don't think I'm going to try to hide the AK, because that's just not going to happen, but I'll slip the other sidearm in case this one runs out.
Sounds good.
Other question that I have is the material that they use to make their chest explode.
Mm-hmm.
Is that salvageable or is that internal?
It seems to be internal. It seems to be implanted. It seems like when you investigate the body, you see some light surgery scars. As you're up close to them, and this one on the individual who's very dead here looks fairly old. It looks like this guy has had this particular implant done a long time ago. But you quickly realize that, like, the way it's set up, it deals with, like, pressure and the lack of heartbeat and the mixture of a dead man switch and some other stuff that you basically are like, oh, yeah, you have to move the body in a very particular way and clip this wire because it's tied to the radio and it's tied to all these other things. So basically, you disarm it without a big deal because it's not incredibly complex. But it is definitely one of those situations that if you're just, I'm going to flip this body over like it's not a big deal, you're going to eat, you're going to eat basically a revenge grenade.
All right, so I guess I'll hand the AK to Davis and sleight of hand the sidearm.
Extra sidearm. Yeah, you get a radio. You also see, if you're familiar with like the wrist-mounted like plays that some people use in football, but some tactical officers use them. They have like that kind of map set up where it's clearly a printed out map with plastic over it, and it seems to be a relatively sensible layout of parts of this facility. It's not complete, but it definitely highlights the northern quadrant, and it definitely highlights avoiding the eastern quadrant. So they are at least semi-aware not to go there. Clearly it has, they clearly see that as a danger.
Oh.
All right, so I will
Are there
return
anything
to the...
looking for this investigation? And there are questions you would like to ask me about the body? And or things you may find on it?
Yeah, is there any type of markings that I could tell one of the doctors? Because there's clearly nothing I'm going to understand, but any uniform, symbols?
The uniform is all black. There does not appear to be a logo on it. There does appear to be, like, if you take time to examine some of the skin, you will realize that they're probably a mixture of mercenary and prison tattoos. Because you clearly spent time in jail. This person was a criminal at one point in time, but clearly has received training outside of what just a normal criminal organization would do. You note that some of them are Russian. And they're, like, just from that, like, you've met Russian criminal elements before, so you note some of them are Russian criminal tattoos. But there's nothing that says, hey, we're part of X faction. You will note that if you take the map off and look at the underside of it, it does have what appears to be like a list of coordinates on it, like latitude and longitude.
All right, I'd like to imagine that he's actually examining the map for his own reasons and is walking toward the others with that exposed to them, not even aware that it's on there.
Okay, sure, makes complete sense. So you see him walking back with the map that he's taken out of the guy's wrist and forearm area, and on the back of it there are latitude and longitude.
What do you have there?
Dr. Benjamin will quickly realize that the latitude and longitude are the location of not this facility, but a debunked site for what would have been another facility in the area.
Well, that's not good. That's not good at all.
What's going on?
Well,
Yeah, so those coordinates, they're they're for a site that kind of got shut down near here. Oh, this has been a long time in the making.
Why did it get shut down?
That's a good question, GM. Why did it get shut down?
Originally, it was supposed to have been a follow-up site, but when they broke ground, they found something there that they did not declare. Like, they just built over it and moved what would have been a containment facility of this type, where you're housing physical items. It's now technically a bio facility, and by that they mean it's mostly cemented over, concreted over, and monitored. Not necessarily, like, used. It doesn't have personnel. They're not sending D-class or MTFs there. They're just, we are monitoring this. We don't want to let out whatever is under there. It's there. It was originally supposed to be the site that you're at now, but they moved this site approximately 60 or 70 miles away from that, and that's just a bio. It's labeled as a bio-containment site, but it's really just mostly a concrete slab with drone and satellite surveillance.
Okay, so yeah, he'll go. Well, basically they started digging. It was supposed to sort of be like this site, but kind of a backup site. But when they started digging, they found something. I don't know what it was. That part was redacted, but whatever they found, whatever was under the soil there, they stopped digging. They poured concrete over it, and now no one goes there anymore except for robots.
Okay, so these people are apparently trying to get there, or I don't understand. If it's been concreted over, why would they have coordinates to that? Well, you can't get in it.
If there's a possibility. If, let's say, calls for help go out from this facility, there is a possibility that, the MTFs may come here, instead of the other place, if they want to take what was under all that concrete.
Right. So that's the first thing you've said that I've understood. They're trying to redirect your forces, right?
I'm easier to understand once I've had an 18-hour nap. But yeah, basically that's my own personal theory, but I could just as easily be wrong. That's what science is all about.
So you're telling me this is a distraction?
It could be. I can't say for entirely certain. I'm not in an MTF anymore. But yeah, we may need to get word out that they might also be targeting the other site.
What would be? You have no clue whatsoever of what may be in the other side at all?
That's above my pay grade. I do not have that level of access.
You don't have level 3 security clearance.
Oh, wait. Dr. Morgan, you have level 3 security access. You might be able... Oh, we need to get to terminal at some point. Terminal. We need to find a terminal.
Okay. Well, first things first, we can't all die. But
good point.
None of us can die.
That
does this mean
a problem as SCP-73?
I'm glad we got you on our side, by the way.
I mean, I'm here to help where I can, but I'm pretty good at the not dying thing.
I see that. Well, let's just try to make it through here, and if need be, I can use my access to try to get information there, but we need to get to the point where we can actually do that. So that's our goal.
Amos actually puts his hand up, like, in game, like. Can somebody tell me what the hell you actually do here? and why this guy can't die, why there's biological hazards over here, why there's men attacking us with gunfire. All I do is just clean the damn toilet, so.
Right.
Oh.
That might be slightly pertinent information. So, SCP, secure, contain, protect. The things we secure, the things we contain, and the things we protect people from are anomalies. Anomalies are anything that doesn't gel with reality. Things that are anomalous, things that are supernatural, metaphysical, things that don't follow nature's laws. This is an SCP. This is an anomalous person. This is Kane, SCP-73, one of our earlier acquisitions. Yes, Kane. Yes, that Kane. At least that's our working theory.
Well, I'm not that Kane. That Kane is a construct of Judeo-Christianity. That's a whole other conversation. But yes, I've been around a very long time and I don't die.
There are other... Yeah. Yes, and there are other SCPs. Some are innocuous, like a knife that cuts through anything and turns it into cake. And then there are some that are like immortal lizards that destroy everything, and lanky, pale guys that kill anything that looks at their face. This is one of the more experimental facilities. There are some SCPs here that don't have a number yet. So the people that are shooting at us, Chaos, they're the Chaos Insurgency. They're bad. They are, to the best of my knowledge, think of like, what's a good example? I can't think of a good example. There's nothing like them. They're kind of like us, but instead of securing anomalies, they want to use them for their own ends. So there was an incident a long time ago where they they raided a facility that housed really bad things, in many voices, predatory things, and they tried to use those as attack dogs. That's the kind of thing that we're dealing with.
And Amos, after having his entire worldview shattered in one conversation, is going to roll to keep it together, if that works with you.
Good call. I was going to request you do that.
I'd like to volunteer to do the same, in case you weren't going to make me do it anyway.
Sure. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Let's see.
Oh. Long 8, 4 plus 1, 13.
I feel in this case for Amos, we're going to suffer an emotional trauma. So, figure out how you would like to roll.
Yay! I traumatized someone.
That's the 4 option, right?
Life-changing trauma is the 4. I did I did the 2. Yeah. So suffer emotional trauma, because you said your worldview was shattered.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest part about it. I mean, he's always felt like life was normal. You had to do what you did to get by. If someone attacks you, you attack back. Then he starts talking about attack dogs from other worlds, and just the color comes out of his face, and he's just kind of like staring off as the conversation continues.
Davis rolled a 13 for keeping it together. So I'm going to go with, you become obsessed, by the way, with the SCP Foundation and what it does. You realize that if there weren't people like you in the securities offices of the SCP Foundation, that the world would go to crap. You find that newfound, like, I have to protect people. We can't let these things get out. We can't let people suffer like this. If like, my job used to be about a pension. Now I'm a goddamn hero, because if I'm not and nobody else steps up to do this, then who's going to help keep the world safe?
Right. SCP-73 is nearby, right?
He's right there. He's standing
Yeah.
right there.
Okay. Davis is just gonna look at him like he's his boss now. What do we do? This is so much worse than I thought. Where, forgive me. This was supposed to be a security job. What can we do? We have to stop this.
I believe your friend wanted to get to a terminal. I believe find out what was going on, and I believe you were also looking for someplace safe-ish to be.
Right.
And possibly grabbing the hardlight cell phone, if at all possible.
Kind of paradoxically stuck in that room right now because it's not letting people put it back into the smaller box. So it's not moving from where it's at, but it's not letting people put it back into a smaller container.
Interesting. He like takes out a
That's the
notepad.
problem.
Refusing
So,
to
do
let
we want
it.
to head toward a terminal?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, given that you guys' experience in the layout, there is effectively a work lab for like technicians you could go to, or you could try to head in the direction, which would be along the way you were going. There's like a workstation lab area, or you could head towards the security office. The security office is probably in the middle of a firefight, or at least not in the safest place.
I guess one of the labs.
Okay.
Probably be the best bet.
Okay. So as you reach the labs, you all kind of pile in. You head to the terminal. Dr. Morgan starts to put in her credentials, and as you do, the door to the lab opens. And what you see is, it appears to be a woman in like her late 20s. She is dressed well, kind of not full like ball gown, but kind of a longer black dress. She has like a hat in her hand that she just kind of takes off as the door opens and she kind of appears there. You all kind of notice her. And she looks to SCP-73 and says, "We need to have a talk." And Kane responds with, "What does one of the Black Queens want to talk about?" And at that point in time, we're gonna go to break. We can take our 15. Because I love
All right.
this.
Whew.
15 minutes ago. We welcomed one of the Black Queens in for all you SCP fans. You know, little nugget for you. I have players that ask me some questions on break about it. I'm like, you'll find out. They didn't read that far into some wikis. So we're gonna hop back in, and we're gonna deal with that. So Dr. Morgan puts in her credentials. The woman walks into the room. Kane refers to her as one of the Black Queens, and she looks around and goes, "We need to talk in private. We cannot directly change the course of action that needs to occur here." And Kane looks at her for a few moments, nods, and they both kind of walk out the door. Kane turns around to look at everybody and goes, "Whatever actions you must take, I wish you luck in them. And when they are done, I will be happy to discuss the matters with you. But this is not something I can participate in. Best of luck to you."
You too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And as he walks out of she turns and they walk out the door, and what you see as she opens the door is not the hallway you were just in, but she opens the door in what appears to be vast rows upon rows upon rows of books. Like a giant library. And they step into that doorway, and the door closes behind them.
What was that? Did you all just see that?
Okay. I did not know the serpent's hand was here too.
The what?
Okay, so the serpent's hand. They're kind of like the insurgency. Think of them almost like there's animal rights groups that sometimes they'll break into laboratories and set the animals free. It's like that. They're like that before anomalies. That was kind of, sort of, it's a little foggy, one of their leaders.
Okay.
One of the Black Queens. Yeah. There's a lot to go over. I can barely make sense of it. Let's just say we probably need to talk about that at some point in the future, but now is probably not the time for it. Let's see what's under the concrete.
Davis, no offense, but for an organization with the word secure in its name, this place doesn't seem very secure.
Kind of a relative concept. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get what we came for.
Yeah. Let's access the terminal.
So you type in your credentials, you pull it up, you put in the latitude and longitude on the back of the map. It brings you to a site. It brings up basically a biocontainment site, and denotes the fact that biocontainment site was accidentally the bio idea was accidentally discovered. Samples were taken to the new site 74, which is where you're currently at. A large mass and containment of that particular item is registered under there. It is currently mostly dormant. If released in the environment, in the atmosphere, it could, basically procreate. And as you're reading this, you realize you're reading the write-up on the fungus, but not like a small sample of the fungus, basically a large, what you would consider almost a societal overlay of the fungus that you are containing here. It is, for lack of any better terms, a hive of that size. Like, it is an underground cavernous area. It is not miles wide, but it is about, a mile and a half wide, about a mile and a half deep. It's kind of, the fungus has kind of grown into like circular ball of consciousness type hive mind situation from what you're reading of it. It is mostly dormant now. When they accidentally stumble across it, they took some samples. Those particular samples were brought to this facility, and that's what you have in this facility. So that's why, kept minimum here, because they're basically communing with it here. And that particular site is a much larger grouping of that. You also denote that there is an item that was found with them, with the fungus, that kind of denotes that it is probably interdimensional. The item doesn't directly have anything to deal with the fungus itself, but denotes that basically it's a golden disc, similar to what you would see from like the Voyager disc. It has been placed in storage here because the records and reviews of it denote like origins and other things, and talks about societal influences, but then discusses like if the fungus in and of itself is not innately hostile, but it will feed on hostile tendencies of those things around it. It will assimilate those qualities. If you basically keep it docile and continue to maintain its ability to maintain its docile, it's not a threat. But the problem with humanity is people will weaponize this thing if they get their hands on it. There's basically a shutdown procedure for how to docile out the fungus. The problem is that tends to deal with making sure there aren't very many people left on the planet. It's what's considered close to an extinction level event to stop the fungus from procreating in a hostile manner. The Foundation is well aware of that, and they're continuing, as you like cross-reference what they've been having you do, you realize that they're having you psychologically analyze how best to deal with if it becomes violent versus how to continue to integrate and engage with people who are non-violent, which definitely covers the list of B-class they've sent you to engage. For everyone you have, like Mr. Freel, who's a convicted killer, you have people that were like tax evasion or flipped on their other people and just wanted a lower sentence. You have people that are docile and people that are aggressive. And the SCP Foundation is clearly running experimentation to figure out that in-between place to make sure that if they want to communicate and learn and deal with this fungus, this sentient fungus, that they are doing so in a manner that is keeping it from becoming too violent. And if they had to, destroy the batch they have here, they have a way to get more in the major facility. So that is what you can piece together with your clearance. You will hit a wall eventually that requires 05 clearance, which you clearly don't have. There are some redacted things that are like redacted by the name of the or by order of the 05 Council, redacted by order of the 05 Council. But what you've pieced together is that it appears that this fungus was either sent here, came here, moved here, has had lots and lots of interactions with humanity. It's one of those critical mass situations. The larger it gets, the more things it assimilates, the more traits it takes on. It can be incredibly peaceful and useful because you can discuss these things, get the alternate dimensions technology from it, or you could be releasing a horde of, killer nanite style biological fungus into the world that will cause an extinction level event. That's what's concreted over and covered with drones and has satellite surveillance over it. With your clearance, you do realize that it has constant satellite surveillance over it. There is a satellite geosynchronous orbit around the site. And that the drones that are there aren't just observation drones, they are strike drones. If people violate the perimeter of the area, the drones will attack.
Okay, I'm going to relay all that information to them, because that was a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and relay it.
All of it?
Yes.
All of it?
As much as I need to tell them about what it is. Huh?
Including the parts that involve us?
No, I'm not going to tell about the who it's affecting. I'm just going to tell them what it is, and that's what's in the site.
So you explain to them that the fungus that's here, that's partially here, is also there, that it will assimilate negative and positive, basically, mental states from people. It can be used, it's probably transdimensional, it can be used to engage and interact with this particular thing, and it is also available to do, to be learned from, and that's where you're here, is to help do that particular thing. You don't explain the particular psychological experiments that may involve the D class.
Yes.
Group.
Not
Okay.
that part, no. But that is what we're looking
boy.
at. That is what they're trying to contain.
Okay. Okay. This is at least an SK. If not, maybe even XK. That's bad. Oh, that's bad. Okay.
But it's under constant surveillance. And, you know,
the item
that's
is
a good
currently
thing.
labeled as safe in its current situation, but it does have the potential to become an SK class event. This is currently...
Oh, right. People who don't know. So, K class scenarios are end of the world scenarios or end of our world scenarios. SK, a scenario in which another species or civilization surpasses us as the dominant species. Fungus, kind of good at that. XK is the apocalypse. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. But we may be in deep.
So we need to stop whoever is here from getting that information to get possibly infiltrate the other place, and there is some here as well.
Yeah, I mean, if the chaos insurgency gets a hold of this, there is no telling the destruction they could cause.
That's why we've got to stop them to the best of our ability.
Why would they do this?
Honestly, they want power, they want money, and they will do whatever they think they can get away with to get it. Oh boy, okay. So, we need to secure the golden disc. Whatever that thing does, we need to secure it.
So while these three were talking, I was listening, but I was looking at the map and looking for the closest exit to the building. I don't care if it's locked. Just some way out.
The closest exit to the building would probably be where you all bumped into Kane and further down the hallway where the Chaos Insurgency soldiers came from. That's probably the closest way out for you is through them. You do know that it is very hard. It's going to be very hard for you to get past any of those doors at this point in time, because it requires basically both the security hose for the level 3 personnel and the security officer. So if you're biding your time for a run, going and trying to engage the Chaos Insurgency and then running away in the chaos is your best bet.
No, I'm not looking for that just yet. It's not the right time. I'm more thinking like, I know there's a lot of things that are locked down that even their security can't get through.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing that a little bit of gunfire and a prying object can't take care of.
Yeah, sure.
Just so we can get to the other side, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I'll...
Totally. Makes sense.
All right, so I pull the map out. Look, we've got to get to that. I don't know half of what you guys are saying right now, but I understand end of world, and that seems pretty damn bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So you are...
Maybe it's worth a shot in the leg.
So you are in the computer lab right now. Would you like to try to do anything that might be able to leave the facility?
Maybe can we get on the computers and check like the security cams or anything, or is that has to be in the security office?
Davis could try to reroute some of the camera feeds to the internal network. He is a security officer. If he would like to try to do that, he could totally do that.
Would we also be able to check on the? Would we be able to check on the status of the on-site nuclear warhead?
You could. That's probably a fairly good idea.
I think it's time to arm the doctors.
Sure. So
I guess I've lit something.
In what order would you like to try to do things? I know Davis could try to use his security clearance to look at some of the security cameras that are here.
I want to try to see first before we decide whatever we're going to do. She wants to see the locations and where there's, the armed people. Where's there a possible option to get around them, where they're at, and what their primary focus is, just where they're at in the building at the moment, to know our safest route to get to where Amos says that we need to get to. We need to see if we can pick up the cameras in the building on where everybody's at. And that's what she wants to do, just kind of get an idea.
Yeah, Amos's original idea was to run straight head on into the problem, but as you guys start, coming up with better ways to take care of it and not get hit with bullets, he's like, that sounds better than what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Is that your role? Is that your role to reroute the cameras there, Ian?
No, it's not, unless it was a mistake. Oh no, that's an old rule. We'll try this one. Hey.
Oh yeah. So it looks like he is able to reroute most of the security cameras, and you will be able to basically see. You don't have the up-close cameras near the entrance because they've been blown away by whatever caused the original breach by the Chaos Insurgency. But the exterior ones do show about 4 black SUVs out in front, with it looks like probably 4 armed guards out, 1 for each one of them, probably the drivers of these things, waiting for their groups to get back. There appears to be, based on the size of the SUVs you see, they're 6 to 8 seaters. Given the fact these guys are fully armed, you're going to lean on 6, so then there's probably 24 or so of them, give or take. You can count in hallways what appears to be between 6 and 8 dead Chaos Insurgency members, so they've taken some losses. You don't know if there are any more guarding the entrance or not near the drivers. You do see probably 5 or 6 near the entrance to storage. They are using a cutting torch that appears to be incredibly hot to cut through the security doors, rather than just blowing it off the hinges like they've seemed to do with everything else. Meaning they definitely are at the point where they want to get in there and secure whatever they're getting and not just cause a ruckus.
Okay, how far are we from there?
You guys are probably 6-7 minutes walk from there. You can probably run there in 4 or 5, depending on what hallways and what doors you have to open up. They're probably about 2/3 of the way cutting through the doors. So given the amount of time you can probably take, given how quickly the assault happened, given that you guys have been here probably about 30, not in the office, but been out walking amongst things for about 30, 35, 40 minutes, they probably need maybe 7 to 8, maybe 10 more minutes, depending on how long the firefights with the security teams took, to finish cutting through the door. So you have probably about 10 minutes before they get in there and start rooting through stuff.
Okay, so I think we probably need to stop these guys from getting in there, because who knows what they're actually looking for at this point. So we may want to try to, now this is just my theory, we may want to try to take them out as much as possible. Looks like we may have a clear shot too there.
Because Ian rolled a 19, he can tell that the on-site nuclear device has not been armed yet.
Good.
Right.
Because there has not been a breach of SCPs at this point in time.
Okay.
None of the SCPs have reached containment.
Okay.
Okay.
The nuclear warhead is secure, and SCPs are not in a containment breach. That much is good. But
So
I
we
do
should
agree with
head
the
to
doctor.
the. Do you think we should head to the security room or the supply room or whatever so we can stop these guys from getting in there?
I think whatever we can do to keep them from getting their hands on this will be time well spent.
All right. So, guys with guns, let's all go and try to get there as quickly as possible before they have a chance to get on through the door.
Yep.
Okay. So as you guys head, I assume you guys head back the way that Kane was heading from. That's kind of the quickest route.
Mm-hmm.
So as you do that, you will find another 2 dead bodies that look like they suffered. Given how you saw what happened with Kane, you see 2 dead bodies were probably killed when they shot at Kane, as opposed to dying in a firefight with other people. Because they have that look of gunshot wounds. There's brass all around them, but there's not anywhere else where somebody returned fire type situation. So you find 2 more bodies like that as you pass by them. You kind of head into the area, and you can, as you approach, you can hear people moving around. What would you like to do at that point in time?
Guys, any suggestions?
I'm gonna consult with Amos. Well, this old man he's never killed before.
I wish I could say the same. But right now, it's kill or be killed. Or
do you
sit
do
back
it?
and just put it out of your mind. It doesn't get easier, but you just. I've only done it once. Maybe.
I need my fucking coffee.
Well, let's get through this and maybe you can get you another coffee.
All right. I'm ready to start icing people, honestly.
Yeah. I have preloaded violence.
There you go. Does anyone have the edges they weren't looking to use in this particular situation for doing the violences?
I have Weapon Master.
I have
You
Death
Weapon
Grip.
Master. Oh, all right.
I don't have edges by myself, but I do have a Genius, which in theory could give me edges.
Okay.
I would need
to roll Soul to.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead and set up for all of that you'd like to do. Come up with some moves you would like to make for us doing this. We're going to be fairly descriptive and try to be fairly quick about it. You prep your rolls.
Fair enough.
We'll give a few moments to do that.
Right. Soul. Okay. Two.
Ah.
Okay. 13. So let's consult the chart. 10 to 14. Choose up to 2 edges usable at any time in the scene while you're still in danger.
Okay. You have 2 in mind. Not take.
I'll say. Oh no, that's not. Logical and quick thinker.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. I will go ahead and roll for Death Drive.
Roll for it. That is a roll.
Oh!
Wait, would you?
Dang,
That is your roll.
That is a roll.
Sir.
So I get 3 edges.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll just cross out Fanatic since it says get within reach since we're using firearms. So I've got engage additional hostile, deal +2 harm, and frighten your opponents by laughing into the face of death.
Fair enough. So, let's go ahead and make a round of rolls real quick, and then we'll be very descriptive because, as we all know, Kult uses a much more descriptive move-based combat situation. So we just want to go in order that we did introductions. So then we can go Kim to David to Stephen to Ian, and then we will script this. Then we will script out a scene of what's going on.
I don't really have much I can do except for maybe forked tongue.
When it comes to that, you can always just choose. You can always just choose to do harm as a move. Unfortunately, there isn't many edges for dealing with that.
Okay, I'll just try to hit him with my baton.
Yeah, it's really down to you hit him with your baton, you roll violence, you hope for the best. It's one of those situations. Your move is.
I just need to go ahead and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go ahead and roll my violence here. All right.
Love some violence. Oh!
Oh God! Violent.
Wait, Davis didn't give you a weapon, right?
Just
or did he?
We'll deal with that in a
Okay,
moment.
all right.
I didn't know if I added anything to that or not. If it was.
You would add whatever your violence score is. So.
I don't have violence. It's 0.
All right, then it would be at 0. You wouldn't add anything to it. All right, David.
Okay.
There it is. All right.
All right.
Oh wait. Wrong word. Yeah, you're good. You're up.
Me? Okay. So, how many? Refresh me again. How many did you say were out there?
You guys kind of creep around the corner, and there's like 1 at the end of the hallway, and then 4 by the door. They're using a torch to cut through the door. If you are looking to do something in particular, or want to use the environment, just go ahead and roll, and then figure out how you want to describe how you were looking to do that.
All right. So, Amos's eyes kind of like blank stare once he takes in everything. Walks out and fires with both pistols, since he has 2 of them now, using the engage additional hostile, and shoots them in the back of the head, the one right there at the edge, and then one of the other 3, and then begins running toward the other 3 with the guns drawn.
Okay. So I'll describe that here in a moment. What you got, Stephen? You want to give me some edges and/or a roll that you need to do?
Oh, me? So, weirdly enough, I don't think I actually have to roll for this. So, what I think he's going to do, I'm not sure if this is going to help any, he's going to become the cover. He's going to get, kind of in front of a little bit in front of the guys who have guns, and he's going to use the Quick Thinker Edge, which I can treat as a 15+ roll of Avoid Harm.
Nice. That is real good. All right. And last but not least, Ian, what you got?
All right. Well, typically if you're firing at range, you'd roll plus your coolness, but Davis is quite fanatical now about the mission and terrified. He's going to roll violence and bring out the automatic weapon to just move in any bodies that are left after the initial salvo. Just straight for them.
Sure. All right. So, this plan comes together way better than you thought it would. The doctor just kind of leaps out in front with his shield that you gave him, thinking it would be kind of a joke, and he barrels through. Like, there's a determination, a spark of just intensity in him that you did not think you were going to see. This leaves almost be able to pop out from behind the shield and just pop 2 dudes that are focusing the fire completely on the doctor. Davis is, keeping up with things that it is. Unfortunately for our good Dr. Morgan, who's still wincing in pain from that awful arm wound, she leaps out from behind the shield to try to club a guy and just eats the guy at the end of the hallway's response and eats around to the chest, taking another wound and just not feeling great about it. You managed to dispatch most of these guys by surprise and just sheer force of arms, but it did cost them another injury to good Dr. Morgan. The other one who was on the torch, because we assume you don't shoot the guy next to the giant exploding possible highly pressurized, flammable gas. And the one at the end of the hallway who are kind of left go to retreat and run away unless you want to chase them down and try to gun them down in the moment.
I will do that.
All right.
All right.
This is my happy place.
Sweet. As you are continuing to show why you were convicted of murder, go ahead and if you have another edge that applies, go ahead and do it. But go ahead. You've kind of lost that edge of surprise at this point in time. Go ahead and give me an avoid or an endure injury or an avoid harm roll, whichever one you would like to prefer in this particular situation. And as you're either dodging out of the way of bullet fire or soaking up bullets to the chest because you sport some body armor from the armory.
All right, so reflex is actually better, but I'm going to go with endure injury just because I'm in the death drive and it literally says no regard for personal safety.
Sounds great. 11. So you did roll 10 plus. You managed to run the other two down and shoot them, but as you're engaging in this firefight with them, and because you scared them off and pushed the advantage that you had, you do get shot in the leg. You don't notice it at the time, but as you're walking back, good old Dr. Benjamin is like, I should probably treat that leg wound or he's going to bleed out eventually.
Yeah. Shall I do a little bit of battlefield medicine then?
You should. Unless you're going to let him bleed out eventually. That's up to you, though.
No, yeah.
What about the good doctor
who
just got shot in the chest? Come on, bro.
Right.
So
that is...
I come walking back with blood on my face, kind of trying to wipe it off, but just smearing it instead and blood pouring out of the leg.
Okay, a 15.
Yeah. He rolls up, Dr. Benjamin walks up, whips off his belt, and tourniquets your legs so you stop bleeding out. Dr. Morgan is kind of laid up at this point in time up against the wall, not looking super great, with bones sticking out of her arm and the chest wound that's not full gaping at this point in time, but seriously having a little bit of trouble breathing. So you have there's some wheezing and a little bit of coughing and a little bit of roughness there.
Okay.
You have managed to get rid of the 6 that were in this particular area. And now you can try to open up storage, figure out what you want to do. Once again, try to loot the bodies, but that's going to be dangerous, as you're well aware. Treat the doctor for more medicine, because the Dr. Morgan just can't seem to catch a break with the injuries today.
My violence, I don't have any. That sucks.
I don't have any. No, that's fair. So I'm gonna leave this to Benjamin first to drop back into RP. I'm gonna try more battlefield medicine.
Let's try round 2.
Please roll good. Please roll good.
Okay, Shabuski. A 14.
Oh, still not
Okay.
bad.
So you managed to patch up the doctor some. It is. Go ahead and give me a keeping it together roll again, Doc. Morgan, Kim.
Okay, keep it together.
He's just not gentle with you. I don't know if this. I don't know if this is just he just doesn't want to be gentle with his fellow his little person with PhD or not. But
Wow.
My mouse is missing. Okay, there we go.
Oh no.
Oh my god. She's losing her crap.
So as last time you were able to grit and bear it and handle it with ease, that was a 7, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with that that life-changing trauma, I think, this time, because this is the second time this man has tried to patch you up and like put his finger in the wrong place or brushed against something, and you're just like, I cannot trust this physician. This is awful. Why is he doing this to me? Oh, God, no.
I'm doing my best, dang it.
Ever again.
She is just going to scream out a bunch of profanities at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all she can do.
Ooh, haven't heard that one before.
That is fair. Yeah, not a fan of Dr. Benjamin patching you up ever at all. If again, no.
Yeah.
Not where you parked your car. It's not making you happy. You do not like it.
And Benjamin is just like, it's a stream of I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And under her breath, she's gonna be like, "I know you're trying, but oh my God.
Are you sorry? Are you really sorry? Because I think you're a sick, perverse individual that enjoys hurting me. That's what I think. That's what's going in my report next week when we do psychological evaluations. You're
if she lives to do it.
Better with leg wounds, all right?
Apparently.
I can only handle wounds below the waist. I'm awful at anything above the waist. It's horrible. All right, so now you have a mostly cut through door, dead bodies, and you're standing in front of storage. What would you like to do?
Well, we should probably open storage.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least otherwise get in.
At this point.
What's up?
Am I able to get up, at least move at this point, or am I
you can
down
move.
for the count?
It hurts. Your breathing's heavy. You're basically too into that injury track is what's going on there. So let's see. Let me look at the character sheets real quick. I don't remember exactly how many wound levels because I don't play enough Kult. No, I guess you'd be 3 into the injury track, so you're not completely debilitated yet, but you're on that verge of being in not the best place. I believe it's severely injured.
Wow.
Maybe I should have been a medical doctor instead of a psychologist. I could have healed myself, damn it.
They do both.
Yeah,
heal.
So you are not critically wounded yet, but if things keep going that way they've been going for you today, you will be if you take another big 2 damage there. So you're in the serious wound 3 in at this point in time. So it's getting strenuous to move around.
Out of harm.
Yeah. So you guys are gonna try to open the door?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to the panel. You enter your security stuff. It like clangs a bit and doesn't completely open because when you're cutting with a torch like that, if you started to go around it, they've basically melted the center point because they're cutting their own hole. So you guys could maybe find a crowbar or something else and try to pry the part that's been sealed shut apart. But right now it seems to be semi-welded together. Or you could get on the torch and try to cut that part away because you do have the security clearance to get in there. But somebody's going to have to get on that torch and either cut that part away, or they're going to have to try to get a crowbar and use some physical labor and strength to break that weld that's been made coincidentally.
I think I will engage burglar here.
Oh my.
Which allows me to silently open the locked door within a few moments. None of the other actually matter, I don't believe.
Yeah. So you would like to you're going to burgle. So Amos is like, hold on, chill, Rippa. I got this. And basically like looks around, takes like the screwdriver from like their toolbox of things they've been using near the acetylene torch, and just gonna like wiggle, 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 crick, pop, and then the door just the rest of the way open. Like, it is very noticeable that he's like, I've not done that before. I've totally done that before. Like, it's real obvious that he's like, so storage opens. Neither one of our two researchers have really been into storage because they don't have anything to go in there. So as you look into it, it is not full-blown Raiders of the Lost Ark ridiculous, aka just rows upon rows upon rows of things. But when you look in there, it's probably maybe about a football field's length and width back of just rows of crates. These are all clearly not SCPs or anything like that, because that's not how you store them, but they are storage items related to SCPs on site or connected to this site. So it's going to take a little bit of effort to go through storage to get all the things you may need. Where would you like to start?
Probably need to start investigating of which areas, what, do they have like notes or like letters of each thing, or where you could find in them, or some kind of like records thing right there where everything's located?
Weirdly enough, there's a like if you take your time to investigate near the front of storage, there's a bunch of like barcode scanners you would find at like a warehouse, like Amazon style, where you could scan something and it's going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
You could easily log into those using your credentials. Any of the people who have credentials, clearly not D class. Anybody who has credentials could log in using their credentials and like try to reference to see where that might be, and then you can scan to see where you might be able to find it. It would simple interact roll. Let's see, there's one for that. Actually, let's go ahead and make it an investigation roll.
Okay.
I'm going to investigate.
While they're rolling, I just want to know, are these crates similar to the ones that I saw before?
In what sense? In like your backstory?
Not it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They have the Sim logo on them. If you're looking around for them, then eventually you will find one that is about the same size and area, but they're basically, you can tell because you're a burglar, that each one of these crates is basically custom made around whatever's inside of it. There's not like a generic crate here. So knowing that now, you're pretty sure the one that from your backstory is also a custom made around whatever was in that crate.
I only got 8, so I don't see nothing.
Then, it explodes.
Somebody switch roles with me. Please.
Not me.
I'm not going to have anything dangerous happen when you like.
I'll say Ben could probably give it a shot. He's got +3 in reason.
I'll tell you what, her mind's been kind of messed up. That's the reason she can't find anything.
No, I have it right here. I can for you. So because of your injuries, you go to put in your credentials and you accidentally lock yourself out of the scanner. You enter the wrong password one too many times and you lock yourself out of the scanner.
Her mind's not all straight right now.
Yeah, you're like, I don't even have pain meds. This is awful.
Well, Ben just why don't I give it a try?
You do that.
All right. Yeah, this goes. Shabuski? 11. Okay.
That'll get you there. But yeah. So it takes time, longer than you were hoping, because you keep putting in the search parameters for like golden disc, and whoever filed it just filed it in a manner that was not easily searchable. So it takes you a couple minutes, way longer than you thought it would, to go through this situation. But you eventually scan it and get it, and you find the barcode about where you need to go. It'll take you to the aisle. It'll take you to the crate. It is still crated. It has not been opened. It's still crated in the crate that it was in. what would you like to do? I assume we're just gonna pop the hinges on this bad boy and open her up. Oh,
Is this still the same scene? Because I actually have an additional option that I can bust open the lockbox or safe in less than 2 minutes.
no, you can easily pop it open. I mean, they're crates. It's not locked. You can easily crack it open with a crowbar. It's not like a secure safe situation. It's very much the boxes from Indiana Jones. Like, it's in a crate.
All right, that was my bad then.
You clearly know what you're doing there. You're like, oh, is this the crate? Like, I'll even let you Fonzie it. Like, is this the crate? You're like, ba-dunk, and it just falls open when you hit it with your fist in the right way. Fonzie the jukebox. Because you have that edge, so you get to look cool and being like, oh, is this the crate you needed opened? Kablunk, and it falls open. there's like a case with like a carrying case inside of it. You pop the latches in the case, and there's a laser disc sized golden disc in there that is etched clearly with some sort of information on it. So you have acquired the golden disc.
Okay.
All right. Well, here you go.
Okay.
You may want to check that before we just, it was put in here for a reason. Can we because maybe examine it or anything? Is there any type of properties that we may need to look for or anything? Because if it was in a crate, it may have been in there for a reason other than what we know.
So what you can tell from reading the files and what you can tell from what's going on here, these are just things that weren't needed for... They were things that were related to things at this site, but they weren't needed for research anymore. Like, all the information was taken off of them, so you could access most of the information on the disk from, files that you have access to from being a level 3 personnel. You are preventing this information from getting taking the disc with you. So if you are in possession of the disc, then the Chaos Insurgency is not in possession of the disc. It forces them to either A, hack your files and get what you know from there, B, hunt you all down and kill you and take the disc, or C, find another way to deal with the situation.
Okay. It works.
Right. So I would say our next move is probably get this and us as far away from here as physically possible.
I second.
I would agree. Oh, this is bad.
Yes, it is, but we're on the right foot. No offense, Amos.
Been taken. My foot's fine.
He meant the foot that your shot leg's attached to, I guess.
Yeah, that's the illusion.
So, would Ben or any of the others know about methods of transportation off the site?
So, because of where this site was set up and it was designed to be isolated, most of the people just use the motor pool. There isn't any super secret ways out of the site.
Okay.
So your other options are really to head out front and try to shoot your way out, or try to or use maybe the service tunnels and see if there's a way out through those.
I don't want to get shot at anymore because I think I'm probably going to die if I get hit anymore.
Honestly, yes, I would agree.
So
the
path
service
of least
probably
resistance.
the better best. Yes, the service tunnels.
Okay. So you're gonna head back. You guys are kind of in an area where you could easily move around to the service tunnels on the eastern side that Amos was originally going to take you to. Would you like to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So now that you've kind of circumvented, you go there. If you head into the tunnel, you head to that area and you head into the tunnels. It does take a little bit of finagling, and Dr. Benjamin has to step in because Dr. Morgan's currently locked out of parts of the system due to the improper errors sent into the scanner. People's credentials are kind of foobar right now. So it does take a little bit extra finagling to kind of do that. And you head into the tunnels. You start moving through the tunnels. As you start moving through the tunnels on the eastern side, you kind of start running into a problem. You don't really notice it at first, except for Dr. Morgan, who's like, okay, that's a little weird. Like, Dr. Morgan's eyes start to itch a little bit, but she deals with it. And then as you guys start to get deeper into the tunnels, the deeper you are into the northern side, you realize that, like, you can see kind of a green film in the air.
Oh, no.
Shit.
So, do we have our gas masks?
Mine
You
was
do.
busted.
I mean, it's still keeping it out of your lungs. It's just the face plate. That's why your eyes are a little itchy. You know,
Okay.
you're
Dr.
not to
Morgan.
the point where it's completely infected yet.
Can I get like rip a piece of my jacket or something off and like put it, like somehow put it over that part or something to cover?
Yeah. You
Or does anybody got anything I
it's
can
not
put
gonna be
over it?
airtight. It's not going to be airtight, but yeah, you can put over, that. It's going to slow down the process.
Okay.
That's not a good seal. Dr. Orzel.
Yep.
That won't do it.
It's-
You know it as well as I do.
Once we get out of here, it won't get into our lungs, at the very least.
I'll just lose an eyeball. Pardon my face, probably, but hey.
In the SCP Foundation, that is actually one of the better fates.
We don't need to say that now, Dr. Orzel. Say the word, I'll swap with you. It's a treacherous way to die.
I mean, Dr. Orzel, with his medical battlefield medic expertise, knows that with her wounds, swapping with her is probably going to kill both of you rather than just Dr. Morgan if she gets infected. Because she already has like a wound in her arm, she's been shot. Amos is a bit of risk because he's got a bit of an open wound from the leg wound. It's a matter of, if you get through here quickly, and because you kind of know the security procedures, if you can get to a place where you can treat yourselves and use antifungals, you'll be fine. But if you let it fester, it could become a problem. Because you have
Let's move
already
quickly.
seen, you've already seen the medical review. So the longer you hang out, the worse off you're going to be.
So we need to
Okay,
get
let's-
out of here
Jason.
as quickly as possible.
I'll lead the way.
So, Amos, you'll lead them through security tunnels, or the service tunnels that run parallel to things. And as you do that, you can all of you guys can kind of hear conversations, because the area isn't soundproof. It is a bit sealed, but it is not soundproof, and there is a difference. And what you hear through the course of the conversations is you hear what sounds to be like 3 or 4 people speaking at once to like one person at a time. It's 3 very distinct voices, but they're all kind of speaking in unison. And they're speaking to one other person. And if you stop and listen, you can make out the conversation, but you can clearly hear that particular situation going on.
What are they saying? Can we hear that or make out what they're saying?
You'd have to stop. You'd have to stop to listen because you are on the other side of walls. So it's a question of if you want to stop and listen for a little bit, or if you want to move as fast as possible.
Just move. How far do we have till we get outside? Or
You'll get so luckily you'll head through the area that's kind of the green haze, and then on the opposite side of the green haze, the haze is there, and then it gets a little bit less, and then you get kind of to a ladder. The ladder looks like it's probably, you guys have probably been traveling for maybe 10-12 minutes. So you know you're probably about a half a mile away from where you were in the facility. So it's far enough away from like the motor pool or anything else. It might even be far enough away that like you're outside of the jamming radius for other things.
Okay.
But you're still a bit underground because you are in service tunnels. And you basically are stuck looking up at a ladder.
Okay.
Well, let's see if the coast is clear. Any volunteers?
I'll do it.
All right.
So I go and look up.
Okay. You have a sealed service entrance. It apparently needs credentials to open, or you could try to burgle it again.
Do we have the credentials to open it? Because no point in burgling if we do.
I mean, you wouldn't know. They'd have to go try it. They'd have to go up there and try it.
Benjamin, why don't you try first?
Fair enough. He will present his credentials.
It rejects your credentials due to the fact that this is a lockdown and it's connected to the dangerous biohazard side of the wing of the building.
Damn it.
All right.
That's not going to work.
Maybe this will, and I hold up the screwdriver from earlier and burgle.
Mm-hmm. You burgles it.
Come on. Okay.
I still get two options with that, so I can silently open a locked door within a few minutes.
Okay. You get a drawback with that as well for not rolling over 15, I don't remember.
No, I only get the drawback at the -9. In fact, I open the door anyway, but you get a hold if I...
Yeah.
If I roll
what's up?
9, so. No, I was saying, like, if I roll under 9...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know some of them have differences when you don't hit the 15 threshold, so... No, but you're fine. So, it takes him a while, but he, like, mechanically and physically opens the door. It unseals, and you guys escape out into the world. Do you try to close the door behind you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It takes a little bit while because you guys didn't have the credentials and you had to burgle your way out, but you eventually get it shut. You're pretty sure it's shut. You're pretty sure it's probably not, as Doctor is hermetically sealed. So you are going to want to get a team out here as fast as possible to do what needs to get done. The moment Davis gets above ground, his radio immediately kicks back on. And it's an automated message that you hear Epsilon 11, and then it starts over again. This is MTF Epsilon 11 calling Site 72. Please transmit code for clarification for need of assistance. This is Epsilon, and basically it's a repeated message that's basically asking for a particular code to be handled. And it is an MTF team responding to something, or the fact that you guys went silent in this particular case from the look of things.
Well, Davis, do you think you could contact anyone from here?
I could try.
All we can do now is try.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what are my options here?
So you can transmit several different codes that will relate to MTF Epsilon 11, what the situation is. They range from full site breach, and basically they're going to come in here and clear everything out and sterilize the place. Like, that is their job. You can inform them that there are hostiles on site and it's a problem. You can inform them that you're still on site and are needing immediate rescue. You basically have a list of contingency codes. The one that seems to be most appropriate in this situation is site medical containment, like site medical containment breach, personnel casualties, but like you've left the site, aka you're no longer on site, and you have basically important documentation and or an SCP that has been removed from site for whatever reason that needs to be recontained. So it'd be a string of like 2 codes at that point in time.
Right. Okay. I think that's the option. I'd say Davis is, well, he has an obsession now, so I don't think he minds a draconian approach. Whatever he thinks has the greatest chance of carrying out the mission, even if it's a bit sacrificial. But it doesn't seem like that's the case right now.
Not right now. You do know that depending on like what you give, you may get a person after the automated response is given. You do know that Epsilon 11 specializes in sterilization and containing site breaches, and if they're on the way and they don't get any response, their response is to terminate everyone and everything on site.
All right, well, I wouldn't like them to...
Nine-tailed fox is not a joke.
Yeah, let's not nuke this thing from orbit if we don't need to. MTF, Epsilon 11. I'll send the signal and hope it means we're getting a call.
Yeah, so you transmit the codes. There's about 45 seconds, and then you immediately get a live feed. Name, designation number. They basically ask for a name and a designation number from you to confirm your credentials, which you can easily give because you've been using them all day.
Yep.
After you do, the response will be like, this is Commander Harrison of Epsilon 11. We are en route to you. We need to know the exact level of containment. We need to know the exact level of biological site breach. And we need to know suspected hostiles on site.
Okay, is it possible that I can defer to the 3 other players about those 3 things individually? For different answers?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know about...
I assume you're going to relay the information to the team. So go ahead and, who are you going to ask which question?
Dr. Orzel, they need to know how severe this thing is. You're muted. I take it pretty severe.
Of course. Yep, sorry. Yes, so the fungal entity is in the service tunnels. However, it does not seem to be fully encapsulating the site, though I would say moderate medical breach, hospitals on site, controlled retrieval.
Do you think this thing can still be salvaged?
I've seen worse. I've been to Lake Baikal.
My God, Doctor. You've seen worse?
There's always worse. He looks very tired as he says that.
Now, are we outside now? Like, we can breathe fresh air and everything? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She can't really give you an explanation because she's still kind of reeling with, like, the fungus and everything, and she just kind of, like, just needs help, you know, as soon as possible.
When Dr. Morgan takes off her mask, you can tell that, like, the whites of her eyes are a very, very bright green. At least of her left one, it's, like, really noticeable at this point in time.
Should probably mention that we have an infected but not entirely subsumed member of the site. Yeah, any medical assistance they can render will be very much appreciated.
All right. I'm going to call for help for us and relay the information about the perceived threat. It seems like SCP has seen worse.
Do you relay the vehicles out in front that you had surveillance footage of?
Probably need to include that.
Yeah.
Okay. They will basically ask you to confirm. They will give you a description of the vehicles, like they have some sort of feed, and they will ask you to confirm. And like moments after you confirm, you hear like a shrieking noise and see effectively two very large explosive clouds from the direction of where the front of the facility would be. Like they immediately drone struck them as a response.
That'll take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you will about the SCP Foundation. When they want to destroy something, they will do so with prejudice.
Are we next then? Dr. Richardson, are you okay? I imagine she's on death's door now. Maybe.
I didn't know he was talking to me. I didn't understand.
You're good.
I'm feeling a little worse for wear. I think as soon as I could get some help, my eyes are kind of like, my eyes stinging and burning. I don't quite know what it looks like, but I just feel this pain on top of my chest and everything. I just need some help or something. This is just unbearable right now.
Oh yeah, it's really awful. So, is anyone, you guys basically just huddle down near where you are and wait?
Actually, at some point, I'm going to approach Davis.
Mm-hmm.
You did good in there today.
How do you mean?
You helped keep everyone safe. You got us out.
I was just doing my job.
Do your job well, but I'm going to ask you one thing. For what I did for you today, don't do your job for about 5 more minutes. This is where we part ways.
It was just gonna glare at you. What are you doing, Amos?
I'm getting back what was stolen from me. Just watch over the others. Your help's on its way.
If you're leaving, I'll call out. One last question.
Yeah.
Freel?
Yes.
Did you really do it?
What do you think? But there is some truth. They did shoot first.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk off.
Sure.
I'll turn away, nodding.
Did you just let him walk away?
He seemed to have some business. We're not to question it, we're so close. This isn't where we start now, we're safe.
I guess he did kind of prove himself to be at least trustworthy. He didn't harm any of us in the process, so maybe he's redeemed himself. Served his time.
Maybe he needed our security clearance.
That's true too. But we'll never know. Hopefully we won't see him back.
Yes, and honestly, I think after all he's been through today, I think he's starting to live with freedom.
Yeah.
Fucking
So,
D-class.
in about... It takes about 35, 40 minutes, and a handful of, like, helicopters fly in overhead. One of them basically centers right on top of you, probably using your radio as a beacon. The other ones head toward another side entrance in the front of the building. And what appears to be, if you've never seen an MTF, which I don't think Davis or Dr. Morgan has, it's basically almost, it's very similar, at least this MTF is very, very similar to the Chaos Insurgency soldiers you saw earlier. They're top-of-the-line, high-tech gear, except these guys are wearing full body coverings. They clearly are wearing, like, not necessarily biohazard suits, but they're wearing sealed suits to basically go into the situation. They will give everybody in. They'll give medical attention to Dr. Morgan. They will sedate Dr. Morgan so they can begin handling situations there. They will basically handle the situation. Amos sees, like, can kind of see this because, you know, it's half an hour. You're half an hour into a trek in the woods of South Dakota, in the forests of South Dakota. So it's not like you've got super duper far. Like, you can tell when high you know, military grade helicopters come flying into the situation at low altitude. And you kind of see that happen, and you're like, well, looks like everybody's like. So it seems that everybody survived. Seems that everything is contained. And it seems that if we have to run another one-shot, I feel that the hunt for Amos is the whole plot arc that I can run right there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, later.
So the funny thing with the location in South Dakota, if I recall correctly, it's right by SCP-2000. So who knows?
Who knows? There you go. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed our SCP Kult game. It went very interesting. So we'll go around one more time. We'll tell everybody where they can find you from, find you at. I will go last because I was the storyteller and least important. So we'll start with good old Kim.
Again, my name's Kimberly Wagers. I'm a part of Hangman's Gate RPGs with David. I enjoyed the story. We've got some things coming up. We have a cult game coming up next Friday, I believe, which David can get more information on that. But really enjoyed it. Loved playing with you all. It was an awesome game. If you want to follow me, I'm Kimberly Wagers on Twitter. And you know, hey, it's been fun. Check us out sometime.
All right, David.
All right, I'm Dave. I made it out alive and free. Amos is happy right now. I storytell for Hangman's Gate RPG, and this Friday we will be doing Kult in another secure research facility. So it's kind of the same thing, but more demons.
Wow.
Yeah. Our good doctor, Stephen.
Hello. So this is actually my first time playing something with pure cult rules. I would say it feels like a much more robust version of Flabbergasted, which certain people here are familiar with. I know that's backwards.
That analogy.
Yeah, I know.
I love it.
So I'm Steve. I had a great time here today. I love playing these kinds of energetic characters. I'm a big fan of the SCP Foundation, as you can probably tell by my info dumps there. I apologize if those got too wordy. But I love the universe. I love the anomalies. I'm around sometimes. I'm usually prowling in the Discord, and I like to world build. That's my thing.
And last but not least, Ian, in front of the camera for once, and handle all our tech while he was playing.
Super crazy. Man, I love Kult. It's this is probably my 12th, 13th time playing, 14th time playing Kult, which is the most I've played of any game at all whatsoever. Love Kult. It's so easy to just pick up and run. It's much like the game Flabbergasted, which you can see up on Roll20, which that's great. I love Flabbergasted. I think that's just a hilarious like the contrast of setting there is I don't know, that's such a quote. That is such a tweet is all I'm gonna say. Speaking of Twitter, I'm at Ian V. James. I don't need a platform, but if you want to follow me, I'll talk about Pathfinder a lot, and I run a lot of Pathfinder on Penny for a Tale. But that's all. Go back to you.
All right. And last but not least, I've been your storyteller. I am Paul Marchant. You can find me at Paul Marchant6 on Twitter. You can also find me here on most Tuesdays doing Dune. I also randomly show up for one-shots anytime, anywhere, apparently. And you can also find me at Guild of the Phoenix's Lancer podcast, which I believe we just released or will be releasing our first episode of that here shortly, with a great cast and a great storyteller who's doing a good job keeping us on track. Super fun game there. But that has been our game. It looks like I'm ending like at 11, like right on the dot, which is like never a thing. So we wish you all a good night and adieu.